This demonstration shows how you can use the Fuse perspective in Eclipse to browse Apache ActiveMQ applications and Apache Camel applications at runtime. You can also enable route tracing to see how a message changes as it flows through the route. First of all, we start up an instance of a Service Mix OSGI container. We need the OSGI container later when we come to deploy the camel route. Now, we take a look at the sample route, which is defined in a Spring XML file. We open the camel context.xml file to view the route in the Fuse IDE editor. To enable us to use JMS endpoints in the route, the Spring configuration defines an ActiveMQ broker instance. The route consumes messages from the conference.talks queue, performs a sequence of transformations, and then sends the resulting message to the talk.uk queue. The initial endpoint is an ActiveMQ endpoint, which consumes messages from the conference.talks queue. The first set header command extracts the value of the venue element and puts it into the venue header. The next set header puts the value of the first name element into the first name header, and the last set header puts the value of the last name element into the last name header. The transform command generates a new message body, using the values stored in the message headers. Finally, the transformed message is sent to the talk.uk queue. We are now ready to deploy this route to the OSGI container. Right-click the camel context.xml file and select Run as, Deploy to Container. After waiting a few seconds for the route to start up, we can switch to the Fuse perspective and start browsing. Expand the Local Processes icon to see a list of local JVM processes and connect to the Carafe instance to start browsing the router application. Under the broker icon, you can browse broker entities such as connections, queues, and topics. The queues and topics in this view support message dragging and dropping. For example, we can drag messages from the file system and drop them onto a queue. The messages immediately disappear from the conference.talk queue because our route is actively consuming messages from this queue. But the messages reappear in the destination queue talk.uk. If we select talk.uk and look in the messages view, we can see that two messages are unqueued. If we click on the messages, we can view the message detail, which shows the message headers and the message body. We can also drag messages from the queue back to the file system, where they are stored in XML format. Now, we'll show you how to perform tracing on a camel route. Under the camel icon, we can view a list of camel contexts, and in each camel context, we can view a list of endpoints and routes. Before we start, we must explicitly enable tracing on the camel context. Right-click the camel context and select Start Tracing. To start processing, drag a message onto the initial endpoint of the route. Select the route and then look at the messages view to see the message trace. As we trace the message through the route, we can see how each new header is set and then, finally, how the message body itself is transformed. The tracing feature is particularly valuable for debugging routes at runtime.